Muhammad daripada Berita Harian. Penemuan signal terbaru yang dikesan untuk memberikan harapan positif kepada kita. Soalan saya, how reliable are these signals then? From the briefing that you have been getting, how confident you are that we will conclude this search with a positive result?
Unless corroborated and verified, we have been through a real roller coaster ride based on leads that we have received. But as usual, some leads are much more positive than others. Speaking to Angus Houston earlier today, I'm more optimistic than some of the leads that we have had. So I would like everybody to continue to pray. And this is something that much more positive than others, but yet I'm very cautious about saying any more than that.
All right. So, yes. Row 3, yes, please. Could you stand up and identify yourself, please, sir?
Assalamualaikum. Ismail bernama. Datuk Sri, should the black box being recovered from the aircraft, who will have the ownership over the black box, and who will lead the investigation of the black box?
Waalaikumsalam. Ismail, I have spoken to the Attorney General this morning. We will follow ACAO practices, and we will inform developments in respect of investigations based on whatever we find in due course. But our focus right now is to find the black box first.
All right. Yes. Astro?
Hi, Sulin from Astrawani. Regarding the ping detected, it's detected in the loneliest place on Earth. So what else could it be if it's not belongs to the MH? And also, since it's also consistent with the frequency, is there any possibility it could be anything else but the black box? And also, secondly, is there a possibility for the plane to have landed on the water in one piece, giving it a few minutes to actually probably deflate the lifeboats? And also, if so, is the SARS operation also focusing on looking for survivors on life crafts and not just focusing on looking for the black box?
I will only answer the part about the survivors, because the others are all speculative and very technical, whether they could be other signals from other objects apart from the black box. We will know in due time. As far as survivors are concerned, that's always been our priority, and I've said that over and over again. But the leads that we have received, either from satellite images or from other sightings, did not indicate or show survivors. But I have always said, especially to the families, miracles do happen, and if we are just still hoping against hope, we continue to hope and pray for survivors.
Good evening, Datuk
Yes,
Sri.
please. Could you stand up, please? Thank you.
Good evening, Datuk Sri.
Evening.
Tasha from the Medimail.
Hi.
Datuk Sri, could you confirm CNN's report quoting a senior Malaysian government officer that MH370 actually skirted around the Indonesian airspace before it made its journey to the southern Indian Ocean? Apparently, it has taken a route that's designed to avoid the radar detection. And also back to Berita Harian's question just now on the black box. If Australia managed to recover the black box, you're saying you are not sure yet if Malaysia is going to take over the investigations or Australia?
I said that it depends on international practices, and we will go back to the ACAO on that. And in regards to the radar, it's untrue. I've got the Chief of Defence Force Malaysia to contact his counterpart in Indonesia, and they have confirmed that they had no sighting of the plane.
Okay. Second row back.
Assalamualaikum, Datuk Sri.
Waalaikumsalam.
I'm Zulkifli from the Star.
Yep.
Datuk Sri, what is the status in the investigation on the two pilots, as well as the flight simulator that has been seized? And have police any leads so far regarding the background checks of the crew and the passengers?
No change from the last indication on that.
Okay. Please. Behind you, sir. The lady. Yes, your question, please.
Street, Hema
Yes.
from Capital TV.
Hi.
When will the families will be taken to the site if in case upon finding the black box? How soon will they be taken?
May I?
Over to you, Hamza.
Yeah, may I answer? Right, we're not so sure about the deadline at the moment. What we are looking at is the wreckage. Once we find, then we will decide. From that day onwards, we'll give a certain day to bring all these next of kins to Perth to a minimum days, which we will decide also later. We will announce it as soon as we set up this deadline and also the time for the next of kins to be sent to Perth. Thank you.
Yes. Could you stand up, please, and identify yourself? Thank you.
CCTV China. My question is for to the incomplete handshake. Incomplete handshake, maybe 8 minutes after the sixth handshake. Is there any new information we can get from this new data? And for instance, maybe the more exact route of the aircraft or others. Thank you.
The area where the Ocean Shield and Hyson is operating now, searching for the pinging or detection of the black boxes, are taken into account of this in the last handshake at 819. That's been taken into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, we go to the foreign ones. Yes. On the corner there, please. Please. Yeah.
Hi, Dato Sri. My name is King Chai from
Hello.
Sky News. In light of the latest developments, have any of the family members expressed a specific desire to go to Perth? Thank you.
This is what we've been doing at the moment to identify the real next of kins. See, the thing is like this, the moment we have number of next of kins, we have almost like 500-600 people. We are making sure to identify one by one to get the power attorney to next move, because we are very uncertain at the moment whether we still will get bodies and wreckage and all sort of things. Depending on that, we'll decide later. Thank you.
Yes, the next one, please. The one in blue t-shirt, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Gaurav from the Wall Street Journal. So I have just one clarification.
Sorry?
One small clarification first and then a question. Twice this evening you mentioned ACAO. Are you talking about ICAO?
ICAO, yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
Thank you so much for clarifying that.
The question that I have is, all the experts that we are aware, if you notice the Australian press conference this morning by the investigators, everybody seems to be convinced that the aircraft is lost and there are no survivors. For the next processes to start, because all the families have certain banking issues, certain insurance issues, at what stage will Malaysia come out and say, okay, we accept that the aircraft is lost and there could be no survivors?
I'm aware of all those issues that have been mentioned, and our discussions with the families have indicated many requests, some conflicting. Some do not want to speak about claims, insurance or otherwise, or bank accounts that have been frozen. But there are others who want to have more details about what happens in the event that we do have some signals from the black box. It's a very fine line that we are walking. And so far, we have done that walk through that very fine line. It really depends very much on how we move forward on deciding on the timeline and how the families cope with the situation. Right now, our main focus is on this new lead that we have. This is something very positive, and this is something that is ongoing as we speak. I really do hope that we find something concrete out of this so that matters that you have asked for just now could be implemented. Nevertheless, parallel to our search and rescue, we have formed committees. We have formed ministerial committees. We have formed international inquiries. We have linked up with international agencies. AIB, NTSB, BEA of France, and also the CAAC, the Civil Aviation Administration of China, and the AID, the Accident Investigation Department in China, have all come on board. So all these agencies and committees have been set up in the event that we do trigger off what needs to be done as asked by you. But the actual timeline, I personally would like to engage the families and see what would be the best time for us to do that. But I feel, to be fair to them, finding debris, survivors, if at all, and the black box would be a very significant point in time as far as timeline goes.
Yes.
Good evening. I'm Megumi, Japan Business Press. Malaysian authority has been telling the world that you continue to the search as long as it takes. However, in terms of the case of the Air France 447, they only took place for months from the beginning due to the cost. In fact,
which one? Sorry.
The Air France 447, the search first, it took place for 1 month. Temporarily is closed because of the cost.
True.
And then later on, they start again the next year for a year. Actually, who exactly the bearing this cost for the international massive search? Is it Malaysia government or Malaysia Airlines? In fact, the financial status of Malaysia government, Malaysia Airlines has been quite severe. Malaysia government debt actually 53% of GDP, and then Malaysia Airlines, the deficit of 2013 has been 1.2 billion ringgit, has been actually 3 years consecutively the deficit. Who exactly is bearing? And secondly, as a CEO of Malaysia Airlines, we already passed this 1 month already. How do you see this strategy affected to your airlines, not only financially, but also on the basis of the reputation as an airline? And do you intend to resign because of that sooner or later? Thank you very much.
First and foremost, obviously, this incident has affected the airline, but investigation is still ongoing. We have a lot of work to do. Okay, the airline obviously needs to get itself together, and if you notice experience of other airline, it can take them up to about 6 months to recover from what you call a market reputation issue. Right? And we intend to do that. We intend to do that quicker. Okay? As far as my own personal position, I have work to do here.
If you speak to Jean-Paul Trudec, who was the head of the French investigation team, he'll be the first to say that they didn't stop after 2 months. It took 2 years before they found the black box. And we are working very closely with John Trudec to see what we need to do to go that distance. Even this morning, during the bilateral between the two prime ministers of Singapore and Malaysia, there were new information and offer of cooperation with regards to what Singapore went through with the Silk Air MI-185. So as we go along, I think there will be so many more people who will come forward to assist us. And I'm working very closely with Minister Lui of Singapore to see what they actually did with the Silk Air crash. And they had no hesitation and definitely didn't talk about dollars and cents when looking for the aircraft.
Okay. All right. It's yours, sir.
Thank you for taking my question. Joe Johns with CNN.
Hi, Joe.
The location of the pulse detected by Haishun 1 seems to be about 650 kilometers from the location of the Ocean Shields find. How do you account for that? Chinese aircraft also photographed objects over the last day or so. Is there any reason to believe that has to do with the plane?
Doesn't matter, as long as we find it. And I think both locations, whether it is found by the Chinese vessel or the signals that came from the Australian Ocean Shield, the main point is to make sure that every possible asset that is able to identify those signals, and those signals belong to MH370, it becomes established. So it doesn't matter whether it's, we need to, I'd say that they're so different because we have not even found the black box yet.
Okay, last question from the lady there, please. Thank you. Could you stand up and identify yourself, please?
Yes, Christine Negroni, ABC News,
Hi.
New York. I have 2 questions. The first is, when we last spoke, I asked you about that route that the airplane had taken, and that the families had been shown some slides and that some documents had been presented showing that the plane headed in a westerly direction, then pivoted, did a little zigzag, pivoted north, and then turned back south. Can you confirm now whether that was indeed the direction of the airplane? And my second question is, most accident investigations usually involve 1 or 2 investigative bodies. You've mentioned now 5. Is there a reason why Malaysia thinks the input of so many investigative agencies would be beneficial? In America, we would say that's trying to design a horse by committee. What would be the benefit of that?
Well, I'll just quote Prime Minister Abbott when he said that this is the most difficult search in human history. It means it is unprecedented. It's never been done before. So no matter how many agencies it takes, what do we benchmark it against? So it's very irresponsible to judge what we have right now. The more experts we have, the better in a situation where it is so unprecedented. And that quote came from the Prime Minister of Australia, not from Malaysia. And as far as the route that you mentioned, that question was actually answered by Dato' Azhar 2 PCs ago. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you next time.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the session for today.